The Great Caucasus rises from the earth like a vast limestone spine dividing two entirely different worlds. On one face lies Europe, on the other Asia, and between them 16,000 feet of defiant silence. These are not gentle mountains. They are vertical walls built by geology and sharpened by 10,000 winters. Ushba and Shkara do not invite, they challenge, and the weak have always turned back from them here. This is where civilization's tectonic plates collided violently, and that fracture line has never fully healed. Svaneti's ancient tower houses rise from valley floors like stone fingers pressed hard against the cold sky. Certain towers here are 1,000 years old, built not for beauty, but for brutal and necessary war. Each tower was both fortress and home, where families held out for months against feuding mountain clans. The base walls are 2 meters thick, designed to absorb arrows, cannon fire, and the weight of centuries. Chechen tower complexes in the Argun Gorge stand silent now, but each stone remembers the battles fought here. The Caucasus contains more distinct languages per square kilometer than any other known mountain range on Earth. Isolated by geography for millennia, each valley developed its own tongue, its own law, and its own gods. This is the Mountain of Tongues, where a 3-hour walk through the valleys makes communication completely impossible.
Çaverhen kamaşar aybalam. Bizim dilimiz, bizim tarihimizdir. Her zaman hatırla.
21st century infrastructure has reached the outer foothills, but the high peaks continue to resist it entirely. A paved road ends at the mountain village, 40 people who choose old stone paths over everything below. Mobile signals cut out an hour below the high pastures, and shepherds have not noticed the absence. The tension between ancient and modern does not simmer in the Caucasus. It burns openly and constantly. These mountain communities did not survive Persian, Ottoman, and Soviet power by being fragile or accommodating. Surviving Persian, Ottoman, and Soviet power required being harder than the stone these towers were built with. We are climbing into the vertical frontier, where the rules of the lowland world no longer apply here. The air thins above 2,000 meters, and so does everything once comfortable: convenience, connectivity, compromise. What remains when those things are stripped away is something the modern world has largely forgotten it had. It is the unmediated encounter between a human being and the raw, indifferent, and magnificent weight of Earth. A winter mistake up here is not mere inconvenience, it is something measured in human lives permanently lost. The Caucasus has always demanded everything from those who chose to live within its vertical, beautiful embrace.
We do not choose this place. The mountains chose us generations ago. We are just continuing the story.
That's a beautiful way to look at it.
The mountains are watching, patient, ancient, and completely indifferent to whether we understand them or not. The khevsurs of northeastern Georgia preserved a code of honor that predates every state that claimed them.
Welcome, traveler. Our home is yours.
Thank you. May peace be upon this house.
Even a starving host ensures the guest eats first, sleeps warm, and departs well-provisioned for the road. This is not generosity, it is hospitality as sacred obligation, as binding as any law ever written.
This transgression affects not just you, but 7 generations before and 7 after. The spirits demand balance.
In these high valleys, the state has always been abstract, something on maps, not on the actual ground. When disputes arise between high village families, they are not taken to courts in Tbilisi or Grozny.
We must uphold the traditions of our fathers. The strength of this village depends on our unity.
The Conley blood feud is not ancient Caucasian history. In certain remote valleys, it remains simple present tense. A single act of violence can bind two families in reciprocal killing for 3, 4, 5 generations.
Elders, we seek resolution for the blood spilled, as is our tradition. We hear you. Patience is the path to peace. We will deliberate.
The sul requires ceremony as weighty and as formal as the original violent act it is meant to conclude. Both families gather under respected intermediaries who hold no personal stake whatsoever in the outcome.
In the name of peace, we shake hands. The past is buried, and our families are united once more.
The herders leave the lower pastures in late April as the snow retreats toward the permanent ice fields above. They follow a seasonal rhythm older than any written calendar, older than the names of these mountains. The sheep know the route and need little direction. The mountains shaped their instincts over many centuries. Stone walls of the high summer settlements are repaired each year with techniques unchanged since they were built. No new tools, no new materials, only hands, stone, and the accumulated knowledge of how these mountains behave. Women in khevsur villages still embroider the geometric symbols that mark clan identity and spiritual protection. The symbols are not decorative. They carry precise information existing in no database and no publication anywhere. A young woman learning these patterns from her grandmother preserves a knowledge system through nothing but her hands.
This embroidery is the sole archive of khevsur knowledge, a living tradition found nowhere else.
The daily labor of mountain life is relentless. Firewood, water, animal care, stone maintenance, food storage. There is no margin in mountain life. Every task connects directly to survival in ways lowland life has forgotten. The mountains do not reward negligence. They register it as fact and adjust the population accordingly. These are not primitive people living a simple life. They are specialists living an extraordinarily complex one. The knowledge required to survive a Caucasus winter in a stone tower is vast, precise, and impossible to overestimate. In the high valleys above the tree line, the ancient gods have not been displaced by the newer ones yet. The khevsurs practice a religion that is neither Christianity nor Islam, but something considerably older than either faith. They call their sacred places khvari. Crosses stand there, but the rituals beneath them predate the cross itself.
Bless this offering, St. George. May it bring us peace.
Amen. For the glory of the saint.
The Decanosni priests are hereditary and celibate, bound by codes of conduct no church anywhere has ever written.
Stop! This is a sacred boundary. You may not enter.
In Dagestan, in the eastern Caucasus, pre-Islamic ritual structures persist quietly inside many outwardly Muslim communities. The formal prayers face Mecca, but the older offerings go still to the springs, the peaks, the trees. This is not hypocrisy, it is geological layering of belief, newer faiths settling over older ones like sediment. The mountain spirit is older and more local than any deity who arrived here carrying a lowland sacred text. The linguistic diversity of the Caucasus is the direct result of its isolating geography, valleys like islands.
Vizirena? Tashira.
He says the car is over there, but he doesn't understand you.
Chechen has more than 40 phonemes with no equivalent in any European language, Arabic or Persian at all. The sound system makes Chechen completely untranslatable in certain registers. Some concepts exist only inside the language. Ubykh, once spoken on the Black Sea coast, was the most phonemically complex language ever documented by linguists. Ubykh vanished completely in Turkey in 1992 when its final speaker died, erasing an entire irreplaceable cognitive world.
Bless, O Lord, this new wine and the fruits of the earth. May Allah Verdi protect us all.
To Allah Verdi and to the abundant harvest, may God bless Georgia.
დიდება ლემარიას, მშვიდობა და კეთილდღეობა მოუტანოს ჩვენ სვანეთს. გაუმარჯოს ყველას. ჯვარი პატიოსანი ღმერთო გადიდებ შენ. გაუმარჯოს ლამარიას.
გაუმარჯოს.
Men drink in ritual sequence. Prayers are spoken in archaic Georgian that modern priests no longer fully understand. Women prepare specific foods connecting the feast to an agricultural calendar set before the Julian calendar existed. Younger participants learn not from instruction, but from immersion, absorbing ritual through repetition and presence. A 12-year-old at his first Alaverdoba receives an education that no school curriculum has ever fully captured. He learns that certain things matter enough to be repeated unchanged across 20 generations of mountain life. The old gods appear in no formal theology, yet their daily influence on Caucasian mountain life remains entirely real. The Caucasus does not resolve the tension between ancient and modern. It holds both in permanent living suspension. The Caucasus has been the most contested piece of ground longer than most empires have existed. Romans, Persians, Arabs all knew this ground intimately. Not one of them ever managed to fully hold it. The Ottoman and Russian Empire spent long centuries bleeding into these mountains, extracting only partial submission. The Soviet Union spent 70 years trying to flatten the Caucasus cultures and succeeded only partially and temporarily. Was total. The Soviet Union spent 70 years trying to flatten the Caucasus cultures and succeeded only partially and temporarily. The deportation of the Chechens, the Ingush, the Balkars, and the Karaches to Central Asia in 1944 was total. The lifeline of Russian military power into Armenia began to dry up, and the Azerbaijanis moved in for the kill. The pipeline politics of 2026 crossed directly through the Caucasus. The BTC and TANAP lines traverse clan lands. Energy infrastructure worth hundreds of billions sits where blood disputes and border tensions remain entirely unresolved. The borders drawn by the Soviet Union and redrawn after its collapse cut through ethnic communities like a blade. Abkhazia and South Ossetia exist in geopolitical limbo, recognized by almost none, controlled by the persistent few. Nagorno-Karabakh was settled by force in 2023, an entire population displaced in a single day of coordinated action. The young are returning to Svaneti, not because economics pulled them back, but because something deeper called them. They arrive with laptops and satellite connections, building remote work lives inside stone houses their ancestors built. Some are photographers, documenting traditions their parents tried to leave and their grandparents simply lived. Others are architects, working to preserve the tower houses before the next winter claims the ones still standing. The tourism economy has arrived in Mestia, guest houses, trekking agencies, and coffee shops, now in 4 languages. For every family tourism saves economically, a question emerges about what it asks them to perform versus live. The sacred sites increasingly appear on GPS applications. Photographic pilgrims now outnumber the spiritual ones. The Decanosni draw a firm line at certain rituals, those belonging only to participants, never to outside cameras. There are ceremonies here never photographed, and the communities intend to keep it precisely that way. The ibex and the Caucasian tur move higher each summer as the human presence below them steadily grows.
Our self-determination is not up for debate. We decide the future of this community.
And I agree.
But that future requires difficult choices now.
The question is whether change will be chosen or imposed, gradual or catastrophic, from within or from outside. A young khevsur woman speaking 4 languages and holding a university degree returns to the village every summer. She holds the ancient and the modern simultaneously, refusing to resolve the contradiction into something simpler. The mountains have always required that strength, the ability to carry opposing truths without breaking under them. The Caucasus does not ask to be understood, it simply remains, vertical and indifferent, waiting for what comes.